Hey.
Hi.
So, I'm back with my sister.
For another continuation to a story. So we started the story on my channel and we ran out of time over there, so we're just gonna
Like
finish
usual.
the story over here. So go and check that out if you have not seen it, because this is just going to be the end of the story.
And I mean, I'm probably gonna add like another story or two, but I have to like remember them.
So basically what we were talking about is how one night her TV kept going on and off by itself, and the longer that this happened, the more apparent it was that she couldn't fix the issue and that the remote wasn't working, the buttons on the TV wasn't working, and she had called and texted me in distress wanting me to come over to her house. And my best friend Janaea and I ran over to her house, and because at the time I had moved out, and we sat with her.
So I'm gonna do a little bit better explaining, because just to make things a little bit clearer when you're watching this part. So I had just got like my room finished. I redid the entire thing. And so, when you finish your room or you just clean something, you want it to stay clean. So you're like, okay, well, I have to put everything in its spot. Everything has to be perfect, So, forgot how to swallow.
Wow.
So, I went to bed and I put my remote on the opposite side with my TV. And the TV started turning off and on. And I basically went to go turn the TV off, off, because originally it turned on, and I didn't have the remote. I checked my entire bed, and so I went and I turned it off. I laid back down, and the TV turned back on. At this point, I already knew I didn't have my remote, and so I got back up and went to turn the TV off, and the second time, I couldn't turn the TV off because the button was now pushed all the way into the TV. Meaning, she's grabbing something. Meaning, basically I couldn't power my TV on or off. It was one of those old TVs. So
Hot chocolate.
at this point, I was like, okay, well, fuck this. I'm not doing this shit in the dark. And I went to turn on my light, and after I turned my light on, I basically texted my sister, and I was like, I don't know what to do. This shit is creeping me out. I'm crying at that point. That shit was, like, maybe hearing about it isn't that scary, but happening to you in real life, that shit is scary. And so she's receiving.
She was like, I don't want to be alone. I'm the only one awake, and mom and dad won't understand, and I need you to come over to the house. Your TV's going crazy, because it used to be my TV. And none of that has ever happened to me with my TV.
And this happened to me before, but it wasn't like this. It wasn't.
Oh my god, I'm sitting on my own pants.
Okay, you're moving way too much. I can't stand that. But anyway. So. Instantly annoyed. But, so yeah, I'm texting her and I'm blowing up her phone and I'm like, can you come over? Because I really don't know what the fuck to do. And so she's on her way, and I didn't really realize when she was on her way.
But I just kind of showed up.
About a minute before she got there, the TV, because like that whole time, the TV was going off and on and off and on and off and on. And like a minute before she got there, it turned on and just stayed on. And it was kind of weird because it took me a minute to even leave my room, because I was like, okay, well, I'm literally the only one awake.
Yeah.
And
we were standing outside at the door like, are you coming to open the door? Let me inside.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't want to move, but, like, I need to be out of this room. Like, I need to go open the door. And so
And we had Charlie, so he was gonna bark and wake everybody up, so we needed her to come open the door.
Yeah, so they didn't knock
And
or
she
anything.
took 5
okay,
years.
shh the fuck up. So...
You hear her this, Hoshi?
So, I finally get to the door, and right as I'm touching the doorknob, the TV turns off. And it was kind of weird because that whole entire time, it was just going off and on and off and on. And it was doing that, like, continuously. And I'm annoyed. Anyways, so, you know, it was doing that off and on and off and on, and
that was probably the wrong time for me to do that, because the button for the stop and go is like right here, and so I was like, but then I realized that on camera you don't see this. So, it's just nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
We're recording a video, just so you know.
Okay, or not. Anyways, yeah, so the TV's going off and on and off and on. And, you know, the second I open the door, it stops. And so we all go back in my room and they check it. And they try to turn the TV off and on. The TV won't even turn on because the button is pushed all the way into the TV. Because at that point it had already turned off. And we're sitting there and I'm kind of calming down because nothing's happened. It's been about, what, like 25 minutes? We sat there and nothing happened.
Something like that, yeah.
And
so we were gonna leave. We're like, okay, well, nothing's happening, so if you're okay, we're gonna go ahead and leave. And of course, you know, Murphy's Law, the moment that we try to go to leave, it starts up again.
I think they had started gathering their stuff. They hadn't gotten off the bed yet. They were still sitting on the bed. And
yeah, we had just stood up to leave when it happened.
I think Janaea already left the room. You had just stood up and the TV turned on.
No, I think she was in the door because she saw it turn on.
She did. She must have been in the door then. She wasn't in the room, but
no,
she
was in the door.
She was in the door
but,
then.
like, she was in the hallway, but at the door to the room, if that makes sense. Like, if this is the door,
I really wasn't paying attention to
here.
where she was at, but I know she wasn't really in the room.
And guess what? There's an eyelash on your glasses.
I don't care.
That she's not gonna let me get.
Get away from me.
I'm just pointing
Don't
to it.
touch
I'm
my
pointing.
glasses.
It's
Nobody
right
can
there.
see that.
You know what? I can see it, and it's bugging me.
Good for you. Okay, stop.
I wanted to see if I could see it on the inside.
Anyway.
And I can. How do you even get an eyelash right there?
You're getting so off topic.
Sorry.
I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed.
I'm not.
Get off me. Anyway.
So yeah. I stayed there
Here, hold
longer
this. I'm
because
tired of holding it. Thank you. No, back it up.
wow.
I don't like it being so close to my face.
So it started happening, and so we stayed a little longer just to see, like, if we could figure out, like, what was causing it. And I believe at one point Janaea went over and unplugged the TV. And even though it was unplugged, it still turned on.
Which I think partly freaked me out the most. And I kind of knew it was something paranormal because the the TV button was pushed so far into the TV. I couldn't have done that. There's no way that I could have pushed the button past how far you're supposed to push it and all the way into the TV.
Exactly.
It was so far in there that I couldn't even get it out. And at first I kind of thought, okay, well, maybe it's so far in the TV that it's like doing that because it's so far into the TV. And I think that's why Janae unplugged it, because she wanted to know for sure if that's
it was
what it was.
a ghost or if it was just the outlet, or
And
maybe it wasn't plugged in all the way.
I don't remember for a fact if it happened like right away. I don't think it did. I think it took a minute and then it started happening again. But there was a point after she unplugged the TV that
It came back on.
we all went back into the room and we were kind of chilling, waiting to see if something was going to happen or not. And again, I started feeling better because nothing started happening. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe it was just because the button was pushed all the way in. And so we were all kind of laughing and I was getting, not so freaked out anymore. And out of nowhere, the TV started turning literally off, or I guess on, and then off, and then on, and then off. And it did that about 5 or 6 times
I was just going to say 5 or 6 times. Yeah. And, we were talking and we were sitting with her and, my parents didn't know I was over at the house because they were asleep. And my mom woke up and heard us talking. And so we scared the crap out of her because she's like, who is in my house? And so, we're in the middle of talking about this and keeping an eye on, the TV. And my mom walks into the room like, what are you doing here? And so we told her what happened. And I don't know if it did it while she was in the room or if it stopped.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I think it happened maybe once, but it wasn't like... I think it did happen once because she was like... She said the same thing I said. She was like, well, it's probably because the button is pushed all the way into the TV. And my mom believes in this stuff, but she has to have, like, proof. Like,
She's one of those people that it cannot have any slight percentage of it not being a ghost. Like, the TV has to be practically unworkable for her to believe that it's paranormal. Like, if it can be plugged in, she was like, well, it has to be completely plugged in. And if it's not, then, it's the outlet. If the outlet doesn't work, she's like, oh, okay, well, then it's the button. Like, she will try to debunk it in every single possible way before she agrees that it's something paranormal. And if she cannot debunk the situation at all on any level, then she will believe in it. Yeah. But she's also the type of person that once she thinks something, she doesn't change it.
She's stuck
So
on
the
it.
moment she thought that it was the button, she did not think anything else. She was like, oh, the button's pushed in, it's the button.
Uh-huh.
And because there's technically no way to prove that it wasn't the button, other than us unsticking the button, which I don't think we could do. I think it unstuck itself
I think
like a day later.
Well, Mom said she got it unstuck, but I really don't know how she got it unstuck because it was pretty far in the TV, and you saw it. It was like far in there.
Because even Janaea and I tried the button because we were trying to debunk it too to make her feel better. And everything we were doing was making it worse. So,
ow, that was my finger.
Yeah. So that's basically, that's the story. That story plus 2 smaller other stories that I thought of.
Well, hold up. The same thing, like, weirdly, after I moved to Michigan, like, in this very room that we're in right now, with the same TV that I have right now, like a month after I was here, my TV that I got like brand new because we didn't bring any furniture really with us.
Do you see ghosts?
No.
Do you see dead people? Are you
No.
actually haunted?
So yeah, I feel like I really am. Because this should be happening to me like a lot. I think every
Whoa.
place I've ever been at, the TV turns off and on.
So my video is titled, Is My Sister Really Haunted? Or Is My Sister Haunted? And your video is, Am I Really Haunted?
Yeah, it really is.
What?
I don't know if I am or not. That'd be something interesting though to figure out. Kind of creepy, but
I think you are. You want to know why? Because the Snapchat filters. Every time, I swear. You know how many times
Yeah.
she shows me her Snapchat and how there's a little face in front of her or
You know,
next to her?
Have you ever seen that video where that girl is like, she's in Snapchat and she has a filter on herself and she's basically talking to the ghost and
She's talking to the camera and the face
the
unfocuses
second, like,
from
dog
her.
face or whatever goes onto the thing behind her, and you know she's talking or whatever, and the face keeps getting closer, and then like it's like in her face or whatever, and she freaks out, and that's the end of the video. That's like a very, very popular video.
I've seen someone like that, but I didn't think that it got closer.
Yeah, you've seen that video. You've
I'm
seen it.
gonna have to
I'll have to re-show
show
it to you.
it to me because I don't remember anything getting closer.
Yeah, I'll have to re-show it to you.
I remember that there was a girl who was talking, and then the filter went off of her face and went onto a second face.
No, it was the dog filter, so there's two filters.
The one that I saw, it went off of her face and onto its face, and then it went back. And she got scared, so she stopped recording. Then there was a second one where it was a dog face, and then the second dog face was also on right next to her, but it didn't get closer or anything, and it was just like on and it stayed on. But this little hoochie, she had it, and then there was another face right here, and I was like, psych.
That happens to me all the time. Like, not all the time, like, not every single time. But it's happened to me, like, 2 or 3 times. Which is kind of creepy. But she's trying to do it again. You don't need to hold it, just push the thing. Ew, your cameras. No, do the dog one. It happens like mostly with the dog one. Oh, this one has 2 on there too, so this one might work. Your phone is super slow. We're trying to get it to work. So BRB, hold up.
It ain't working.
Okay, well, it's not really working.
It's
so.
not.
I told you it doesn't happen every time. Ew. Ew. Well, anyways, and then there was another one where I cooked, and I don't know. You know how like you get those weird moments? Okay, stop. That's weird. Stop.
Why?
Because you're just like, that's weird. But you know how you get those weird moments where you just remember something out of the blue, like weird things. And can I help you?
That's my mom.
Yeah, my dog is kind of
Getting
a
in trouble.
troublemaker.
She's kind of getting in trouble.
She's a troublemaker. But anyway, so I was cooking, and I remember turning the stove off, and
I haven't heard this
later
story.
on,
At least I don't think.
yeah, you have.
Oh.
And later on, it's kind of like the window story, but my dad comes in and he's like, Ashley, you didn't turn the stove off.
I remember that.
And I'm sitting there like, what are you talking about? I literally remember turning it off.
Yeah. And I double checked, didn't I?
And it's been like a big argument ever since then. Like, I literally remember turning it off.
And my dad
And
literally was like, no,
it's on right
it's
now.
on.
And I had to turn it off. And I'm like, well, how did it get on? Because I know I turned it off. And he's like, well, you were the last one to use it, so you tell me.
And then I was like, I told her to turn it off, and I saw her do it, because originally she did forget, and then I told her, and then she went in there and turned it off. And then right after
that was a different time. This
So you
happened
mean
twice.
to tell me that this happened more than once?
Yeah, this happened twice.
Whoa. Girl, you was haunted.
Yep. Okay, well, unless you have any other stories, I don't remember any of them right now.
Okay.
I didn't really brainstorm for this.
Well, unlike me. Okay, so that is the end of that. Be sure to go check out my video.
I'll leave the link in the description.
Yeah. If you haven't seen that before watching this, go and check that out to find out the other two little stories that I helped her tell in the beginning. And yeah.
Featuring my foot.
Do your outro.
Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.